Ever feel like you're just reading without really reading?
Mm.
You know? Like your eyes are moving across the page, but nothing's really sinking in.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I've definitely been there.
Yeah. Well, today we are going to be doing a deep dive into some seriously effective techniques to boost your reading comprehension.
That sounds great.
Yeah, and we are pulling some advice from the Learn Smarter, Not Harder podcast.
Oh, yeah, I've heard of that one.
Yeah, they had some pretty interesting tips that I think we could really unlock together.
Awesome. I'm excited.
Yeah. So let's jump right in. One of the most powerful techniques that I feel like sometimes gets overlooked is previewing.
Yeah, previewing.
Yeah, like just taking a quick skim of the text before you really dive in.
Hmm.
I'll admit I used to feel kind of guilty doing that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like I was somehow like cheating or
Oh,
something.
yeah, I get that.
But
It might feel that way, but it's actually really helpful to give your brain that head start.
right, okay.
Like, let's say you're reading a really dense article or something. Instead of just, like, diving right into that first paragraph, just take a few minutes and look at the headings and subheadings.
Okay.
And maybe even, like, the first and last sentences of each section.
Oh, so you're kind of like creating a roadmap for yourself before you actually start the trip.
Exactly.
Okay, I like that.
So you can kind of see the lay of the land.
Yeah.
You know what to expect.
Yeah, like where the big stops are.
Right, exactly.
Right.
You're priming your brain to look for the key information.
So then it's easier to actually absorb and remember those points.
Exactly. You got it.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense.
Cool.
So we've got a roadmap. We're primed. We're ready to go.
Right.
But how do we actually, like, engage with the material? How do we make sure we're not just passively absorbing it?
That's where active questioning comes in.
Okay.
It's about turning reading from a one-way street into, like, this conversation.
Ooh, I like that.
Right? So it's more dynamic. You're not just receiving information, but you're interacting with it.
So, like, I should be talking back to the book even though no one can hear me.
Yeah, kind of.
Mm-hmm.
Like, imagine you're actually sitting down with the author and having a conversation.
Oh, that's a good visual.
Right, and you're asking them questions like, what's your main argument here?
Oh, wait.
Or how does this connect to what I already know?
Uh-huh.
Or even, are you sure about that?
Oh, yeah, to challenge them a little bit.
Exactly.
I like that.
Yeah, it just helps keep you engaged and focused.
So that's great, but I feel like sometimes I could get stuck in the questions,
Oh, yeah, I can see that.
like overthinking every little detail.
You don't want to get too bogged down.
Right.
The key is just to cultivate that questioning mindset as you're reading.
Okay.
So you're constantly thinking critically about what you're reading.
And if I do get stuck on something, I should just make a note and come back to it later.
Exactly. Sometimes the answer will become clearer as you keep reading.
Okay, cool. So we've previewed to set the stage,
Mm-hmm.
and we're engaging in an active dialogue with the author in our heads.
Right.
What's next?
Well, this one might seem obvious, but it's really important summarizing. It's the true test of whether you've actually understood what you've read.
Oh, okay.
Like, try to explain the main points to a friend who hasn't read it.
So, like, if I can explain it clearly, then I know I've got it.
Exactly.
But if I'm stumbling over my words, then it's back to the drawing board.
Right.
Okay, yeah. And I do find that when I force myself to, like, actually summarize something, it does stick in my memory better.
Absolutely. It
Yeah.
forces you to process it on a deeper level.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right, so speaking of, like, digesting information, let's talk about chunking.
Okay.
Because we've all been there, right?
Yeah.
Staring at this huge document or this massive chapter
Yeah.
and feeling completely overwhelmed.
Totally.
So chunking is kind of the antidote to that feeling.
Exactly. It's just about breaking down the text into smaller, more manageable chunks.
Okay.
So instead of trying to conquer the entire thing at once, you're tackling it bit by bit.
So it's like instead of trying to climb Mount Everest in one go, you're doing a series of smaller hikes with breaks in between?
Perfect analogy.
Okay, yeah.
And those breaks are really important too, right?
Absolutely.
Right.
Give your brain a chance to rest and process what it's learned.
Okay, this is all making so much sense.
Awesome.
So we've covered previewing, questioning, summarizing, and chunking.
Right.
What else is in this Learn Smarter, Not Harder episode?
Well, get ready to tap into the power of your imagination
Oh,
because they are big proponents of visualization.
visualization.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Tell me more.
It's basically about creating mental images of what you're reading,
Okay.
like making a movie in your mind.
Oh, I like that.
It's especially helpful for fiction, you know, imagining the characters and the setting.
Yeah, like you're watching the story unfold.
Exactly.
I could see how that would make the details more memorable.
Uh-huh.
But what about nonfiction?
You can use it for that too.
Okay.
Like, let's say you're reading about the water cycle.
Okay.
Instead of just reading the words, Imagine you're a water molecule going through the whole cycle.
Oh, wow.
Evaporating, condensing, falling as rain. That's pretty cool.
Right. It makes it way more engaging.
Memorable.
Exactly. And there's actually a scientific basis for this.
Really?
Yeah. Visualization activates different parts of your brain.
Oh, wow.
So it helps you learn more effectively.
This is amazing. I feel like a whole new world of reading is opening up to me.
That's great to hear.
Okay, but what about those moments when you come across a word you just don't know?
Yeah,
It can really throw off your whole flow.
absolutely. It can be a real roadblock.
Yeah.
But the Learn Smarter, Not Harder podcast has some good advice for that too.
Okay, good.
First of all, don't be afraid to just look up the word.
Okay.
I know it can feel like an interruption,
Yeah, it does.
but it's really worth it.
Okay.
And sometimes you can actually figure out the meaning just from the context.
Oh, yeah, using the other words around it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like clues.
Right. But even if you think you've figured it out, it's still a good idea to look it up just to be sure.
Okay.
It helps solidify your understanding.
And it can also help you expand your vocabulary even more.
Right. They also suggest keeping a vocabulary journal.
Oh, yeah, that's a great idea.
Just write down new words that you come across and their definitions. That way you can refer back to them later.
Exactly. It's like your own personal dictionary.
Yeah, I like that. And plus, the more you read, the more your vocabulary will naturally expand anyway.
Exactly. It's a win-win.
So we've got all these great strategies for becoming more active readers.
Right.
But does it matter what we read? Or is it more about just how we approach it?
That's a great question. And it leads us to one of the final points from the podcast.
Okay.
The importance of diverse reading.
Oh, I love this.
It's like cross-training for your brain.
Okay. Yeah.
Just like athletes need to vary their workouts, you need to vary your reading material to challenge your comprehension skills in different ways.
So, I might be great at reading fiction,
Right.
but then I get totally lost in a technical manual.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's important to mix it up. Read different genres, styles, formats.
So step outside my comfort zone a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. Try new things.
Okay, I like that. So it's like with food, you don't want to eat the same thing every day.
Right. You want to expand your palate.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So reading should be like a diverse buffet.
Exactly. You got it.
Okay. This has been incredibly insightful.
I'm glad.
We've covered a lot of ground previewing, questioning, summarizing, chunking, visualizing, vocabulary building, and even diverse reading.
It's all about being an active reader.
Right. Not just passively letting the words wash over you.
Exactly. You have to engage with the material to really get something out of it.
And these strategies can really help with that.
Absolutely. They can make you a more confident and effective reader in all areas of your life.
Awesome.
I'm glad you found it helpful.
I definitely did. This is great.
Cool. It's amazing how these strategies aren't just about the practical side of reading.
Yeah.
They also really tap into that deeper enjoyment of it.
Right. It's not just about getting the information.
Yeah, it's about that spark, that curiosity, that aha moment.
Absolutely. It's like the difference between watching a movie and actually being in an escape room.
Oh, I like that.
One is entertaining, but the other is fully immersive.
That's a great analogy. And I think that's what the Learn Smarter, Not Harder folks were getting at.
Yeah.
Reading should be enjoyable,
Right. It shouldn't feel like a chore.
Exactly. These strategies can help us rediscover that pleasure.
Speaking of pleasure, let's talk about visualization.
Okay.
I'm a very visual person.
Uh-huh.
So the idea of creating these mental movies as I read is so cool to me.
It's such a powerful tool, and it can be used in so many ways.
Yeah. Like we were talking about before with the water cycle.
Right.
Imagining yourself as a water molecule.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You can do that with historical events, too.
Oh, wow.
Let's say you're reading about the signing of the Declaration of Independence.
Okay.
Imagine you're actually there in the room.
Oh, wow.
Feeling the tension.
Yeah.
Hearing the quills scratching on the parchment.
That would be incredible.
Right. You're basically stepping back in time.
Yeah. And you could do that with biographies, too.
Absolutely.
If I'm reading about Marie Curie,
Yeah.
I could picture myself working alongside her in the lab.
Exactly. You're experiencing history firsthand.
This is blowing my mind.
Mm-hmm.
And, it makes me think about questioning.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It's not just about accepting what you read.
Right.
It's about, challenging it.
Yeah. Pushing back, engaging in that debate.
You're having coffee with the author and you're like, wait a minute. Is that really true?
Exactly.
I love those moments.
It's that healthy skepticism that really helps us understand.
And form our own opinions.
Absolutely.
It's in those moments that I feel like I make the most unexpected connections.
Oh, yeah.
Like all these different pieces of information suddenly click into place.
It's like a puzzle coming together.
Exactly. And that's what makes reading so rewarding.
It is. It's not just about the knowledge. It's about broadening our perspectives, challenging our assumptions, and enriching our understanding of the world.
So well said. So as we wrap up this deep dive, what are some key takeaways you want our listeners to remember?
I think the most important one is that active reading is key.
Yeah,
That's how you unlock real comprehension and enjoyment.
right. It's about being curious and engaged.
Exactly. And we've explored some amazing techniques to help with that.
Like previewing to create that roadmap.
Yay.
Questioning to have that dialogue with the author.
Uh-huh.
Summarizing to test our understanding.
And to make it stick in our memories.
Exactly. Chunking to break down those big, scary texts.
And visualization to bring the words to life.
We even tackled vocabulary building.
And the importance of reading diversely.
It's like we've got this whole toolbox now.
I do.
Full of amazing tools to help us become better readers.
I love that analogy.
So before we sign off, I want to hear from you, our listeners.
Yeah.
What resonated with you today?
Which techniques are you excited to try?
What sparked your curiosity?
Yeah. We'd love to know.
It's funny, as we've been talking about all these techniques, I've realized we often think of reading as this like solitary thing,
Yeah.
but it's not really.
Right.
Even when we're alone with a book, we're having this conversation
That's true.
with the author, with the ideas, even with ourselves.
Like this inner and outer engagement.
Yeah, exactly.
Hmm.
And the Learn Smarter, Not Harder podcast, they ended with a really interesting question
Oh, yeah.
that kind of gets at this idea.
Okay.
They asked, what type of material do you find most challenging to read? And which of these strategies might help you tackle it more effectively?
I like that question.
Yeah, it makes you think about your own reading habits.
Yeah, where we get stuck.
Yeah. Like maybe you struggle with really dense academic papers, or maybe it's long news articles that feel overwhelming.
Yeah, I know some people who just avoid those altogether.
Yeah. But I bet there's a strategy we talked about today that could help.
Oh, for sure.
So I want to leave you with this challenge.
Okay.
Think about that question for yourself.
Okay.
What reading challenges have you been avoiding? And how could one of these techniques help you overcome it?
That's a good one.
Yeah, like maybe previewing those tough research papers could help.
Yeah. Give your brain a framework.
Exactly. Or maybe chunking that long article makes it feel less daunting.
It's all about finding what works for you.
Right. There's no one right way to read. The
Exactly.
important thing is to find what helps you understand and enjoy what you're reading.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
So as we wrap up, I encourage you to experiment with these strategies.
Yeah, have fun with it.
See what sparks your curiosity, what helps you learn, and what reignites your love of reading.
Because reading should be a joy.
Absolutely. It's
Yeah.
a journey of discovery.
Well said.
And with the right tools, that journey can be truly transformative.
Yes, love that.
Happy reading, everyone.